Greetings, everyone. My name is Professor Joan Pierre. This evening, I have the pleasure of interviewing Danielle Medina, owner of Fit and Play Mama. At this point in time, I would like Danielle to introduce herself and share to the audience who you are, your accomplishment, and what you have for future plans.
Thank you so much, Joan, and thank you for having me today. Very excited
You're
to
welcome.
share all of the updates. Yes, I am the founder of Fit and Play Mama, and my services include nutrition, culinary medicine education, as well as mindfulness movements for mental health. And I have classes that are for adults and children. And through my work, I have worked with many different organizations, especially Plant Powered Metro New York, which we partnered with the New York Health and Hospitals, and we co-led a plant-based lifestyle jumpstart program. And this was really amazing because we saw the results of just lifestyle changes and what it can do for the individual. I also work with an assistant professor at Columbia University Medical Center, where we co-created the culinary medicine program designed to equip health workers and especially social workers with lifestyle nutrition tools to support mental health and physical well-being. I am the creator of Healthy Living Starts Here, which is a video project that is about designing the waiting room into a wellness space. And so we integrate culinary medicine, mindfulness, and movements that you can do either there while you're waiting, or you can take that home with you and try some of those movements and also the recipes. And I am the program director to the Act of Random Kindness in Brooklyn, and it's a nonprofit where we talk about the nutrition and a neuro recovery and addressing a lot of neurological health, food access, and nutritional health healing and to underserved communities. And that is a lot, there's a lot more. I'm a board member for Plant Powered Delaware. So I live in Delaware, but I'm also still connected to New York because that's where I've been born and raised and have lots of opportunities still there. So very excited to share that all with you.
Thank you. I have a question. I know you do a lot of workshop. You have been doing a lot of workshop with the hospital, with the doctors. How was that improve your education relating to your discipline in healthy eating and also getting information from the doctor's view of the patient pertaining to their health?
It has changed my perspective of how
Mhm,
nutrition is used in a medical setting, especially with physicians that have a background in lifestyle medicine. They understand that there is this connection between the food that we eat and the health that we are, the current health that we are in. And if that was something that was used in all of the education, especially with doctors and all the healthcare professionals, if that was something that was put into the curriculum when they are studying their focus of health, it would really change the whole medical experience and the whole medical center experience. But unfortunately, the medical industry does not have enough of the nutrition or culinary medicine
mhm,
education. And so that's where I come in. And it's really a great partnership because I have a lot of the knowledge and we do a lot of research on what are the current trends in data, and we use that so that when we are presenting to a wide audience or whether it's patient, that we have literature that's backing the reason why we're talking so much
mhm.
about food and why it's very interrelated to health.
Unhealthy eating is such a challenge for everyone all over the world. Question, I'm going to give you a question. If you had a group of kids in a room, ages 5, 6, 7, together with their parents, no matter what the parent does, they do not want to eat their vegetables and their greens. How will you address it with the parents? What advice will you give the parents?
Absolutely. And that has
Mhm,
happened a lot with a lot
mhm,
of the different programs that I teach where parents are really concerned about their children and they really want to be able to support their child as best as possible and with what they have available. And so what we do is we talk about some of the plant-based foods that they can incorporate. That's very easy. We start off with what the child likes. So, for example, there's four food groups that we focus on. One is vegetables, fruits, whole
mhm,
grains, and legumes or beans. And so we take from each of those different categories and then we build on that. So if the child really loves apples, right, we can pair that with apples and maybe say peanut butter, right? Or if the child is likes broccoli, right? We could talk about like some of the spices that we could use to make it a little bit more tasty. So maybe having a little bit of, say, garlic or having a little bit
mhm,
of a like a sauce that they can put on it, maybe like a tomato sauce too. The other thing too is you can sometimes if it's really hard for the parent to get the child to eat with
mhm,
them, eat the healthy foods, we we start to combine the foods and blend them into different recipes. So, for example, tomato sauce, you can blend a lot of the greens and a lot of different vegetables into sauces because
mhm.
they can't see it and it's still the color red for the most part, and then you
Right.
put it on the pasta, but they're eating a whole lot more vegetables that way. And then the other thing too is just getting them to be in the kitchen with you. So I have a 10-year-old daughter, and she's been cooking in the kitchen with me probably since she was so tiny, like 2 years old. She had her little kids friendly knife and her cutting board, and I would
Mhm,
just tell her very simple things like, can you cut up that pepper for me? Can you cut up that strawberry for me? Very simple things. And the more that children get exposed to this
mhm,
type of food, the more it's not foreign to them, it's not something that they don't know. They can make things with you. Maybe you decide on different recipes that you like. And that really helps to build the confidence and the life skills of cooking because unfortunately, there's so many convenient restaurants and stores where you can just easily buy
mhm,
things, and that's great and wonderful. But the thing is, a lot of the food that's in the package is not so healthy for us. So we really want to start
mhm.
thinking about how we can make at least one meal at home together, if possible, and something that your child would really enjoy so that they can continue to eat and feel good about themselves and also for the parent as well.
While listening to you, you did give me a great advice, and it's with the broccoli. My grandson is having difficulty with eating vegetables. So you talk about putting different spices on the broccoli. He loves lemon. Is it safe to put lemon
Oh
juice
yeah.
on the broccoli?
Oh,
So I will
absolutely.
try, I will definitely try it and get back to you. And maybe peanut butter on the carrots. So
You
whoever is listening, great. Okay, great job. Got me some thinking here. So I have now, let's go into some very important question, which will educate the public. It deals with protection of our brain. How do the natural chemicals in plants, like berries and spinach, help cool down or reduce the swelling and irritation, which is inflammation that damages the brain in condition like traumatic brain injury?
It's a really great question. So when
Mm-hmm.
we think of the brain, right, and the brain is it's about 2% of our body weight, but
Mm-hmm.
it takes 20% of our daily energy intake. So the brain is really it's such an important part of our bodies that we really need to kind of think about that when we are eating. So when you think of food, you should start thinking about its specific job. And its job is to provide very important information that tells the body and the mind what to do. And now there are certain foods, when, like if we take processed meats and fried foods, refined sugars and dairies, that increases the inflammation in the body. And what happens is when you have inflammation, it doesn't just affect your joints or your heart, it also affects your brain. And what we want to start thinking about is how to prevent that from happening. So, from a recent study for people who eat highly processed foods,
Mm-hmm.
and what they have a 1.5 higher risk of depression compared to people who eat a more plant-forward, whole food, plant-based diet. So that means that when you choose food, it directly affects your emotional well-being. Now, the way to extinguish the brain fire that we are talking about and that's happening, and that's called the inflammation, is that you want to use plant-based foods that contain natural chemicals called phytonutrients that act like little
Mm-hmm.
fire extinguishers. Some of the foods that do this, especially, are the berries, and that is a really great food to incorporate as much as possible. So, for example, blueberries and strawberries. They
Mm-hmm.
contain an antioxidant that's called anthocyanins, and it helps to reduce the inflammation in the brain. It also improves blood flow and supports memory and focus. And there's many studies that are on this, just on berries alone, right? So think about like having berries in your oatmeal or having it as a
Mm-hmm.
snack or
Mm-hmm.
you can even make like a berry crumble, right? So these are things that you can definitely incorporate into your diet. The next one is leafy greens. So think of spinach and kale, collard greens, really deep color. That deep green is so important. And I see both of us are wearing really
Mm-hmm.
deep
Agree.
green. So
Mm-hmm.
we're definitely feeling that the
Mm-hmm.
green and how healthy it
Mm-hmm.
is for us. So greens are rich in folate and vitamin K. And that helps with many different functions of the body, with blood clotting, as well as like for women who are pregnant, or and that really helps with the development of the baby. It also slows cognitive decline and reduces oxidative stress. So thinking of when as we age and we get older, we really want to increase our greens as much as possible because it keeps us youthful and young, thinking on our
Like
feet.
Joan Pierre, like Professor Pierre.
Exactly. Yes, exactly.
And you talk about the green stuff. I love kale, and I notice when I s- I saute my kale, maybe for less than a minute, it has this beautiful green color. I have a question with cooking.
Yes.
Is it better to s- steam your vegetable crunchy and not too soft?
Mhm.
Which one is better?
So I love steaming. I think steaming is great. When I do steam my kale or any kind
Mm-hmm.
of green, I usually steam it for about 5 minutes. That's it. So for me,
Mm,
I'm
for
thinking
you.
about
Mm-hmm.
time. Sometimes I don't have enough time to say
Mm-hmm.
roast it in the oven and make it nice and crispy, which I like as well. That takes a
Mm-hmm.
little bit longer, but for me, just steaming it for about 5 minutes and boiling water and you still like you get the benefits, right, of it. You definitely don't want to ever burn your greens, right? Because then
Mm-hmm.
it's not as healthy. But
Right. Mm-hmm.
definitely like you can get a little crunch in it if you put it into and you bake it. I like, and we're talking about, you were saying lemons. I love to
Mm-hmm.
squeeze some lemons onto my
Mm-hmm.
greens, especially kale, and then I massage it, and then I put it
Oh.
baking tray, put it in
Mm-hmm.
the oven at like 350 for about maybe like 10, 15 minutes. And
Mm.
it's so, so crispy. It's so nice. And it has that like nice lemony flavor. And you can sprinkle a little bit of salt on it. So good.
Good. Great. So the next question, it has to deal with smart shopping. What
Okay.
are the best ways to buy in bulk and save money on healthy, non-perishable foods like oats, rice, and nuts? And how
Yes.
should they be stored so they do not spoil?
Yes. Absolutely. And as we all are experiencing, food is getting very expensive and
Mm-hmm.
we're all feeling it. And it's definitely something that we definitely need to address. And especially for the communities where they have a very tight budget and there is not much that they can stray from. And how do you make a meal that's still healthy, but within budget? So what you want to do for sure is buy in bulk. And you'll find these in a lot of, say, supermarkets where you can buy, and sometimes they'll have like containers where you can open them up and like some of the oats, like if you're buying oats, like it'll come down
Mm-hmm.
and you can scoop that up. Brown rice is another great one where you can buy that in big bulk. If you can't find brown rice, I would say try to find something where if it is white rice, you even though white rice is not maybe the healthier version of brown rice,
Mm-hmm.
still you can have some of that. There's other, so there's quinoa. There's also,
Keep them. Mm-hmm.
yeah, quinoa is great. I made that the other day and it's just so
Mm-hmm.
good. And it's also a change of like if you have rice all the time, right? Dried beans, that's another
Mm-hmm.
really, really cheap product to buy, right? And the thing about beans is when you buy dry beans, make sure to the night before just soak them, right? And maybe that's something
Mm-hmm.
that you just kind of think about, like, okay, tomorrow I'm going to make some beans. Let me put them in a pot, and I'm going to put cover them with water, let them stay for about
Mm-hmm.
overnight, and then in the morning you want to remove that water. So you don't want to boil with that water because
Mm-hmm.
beans have this so it's like a protective type of protein in it, and and that's what happens like if people say like I'm very gassy because I have beans. You want to
Mm-hmm.
remove that from it. So that's why we soak it, and that's why we change the water the next day. So you do that and then you just cook it. If you have a pressure cooker, that'll make it go faster. But it's very important to make sure that you wash your beans and it's really fast. Like once you start to get into like knowing
Mm-hmm.
how to do the dry beans, it's really easy. Canned beans are great as well. So if you really just like, I don't have time to do that, just get your canned beans. Frozen fruits and vegetables are really great as well. You don't have to always buy fresh because especially now when the seasons are changing and say if it's getting colder,
Mm-hmm.
there's not going to be as many fresh fruits and vegetables, so frozen is okay to do that.
Okay.
And what you do is you just try to store it like in tight containers. So you want to
Mm-hmm.
avoid any type of moisture. So if you have grains like rice, you want to make sure you store it in a tight container. If it's not already in one, you want to make sure that you are taking you're freezing your seeds, your nuts and your seeds, because sometimes they become rancid. So if you have space in your freezer to do that. And then the last thing too is to make a big batch of food, right? So if you know there's one day where you can spend a lot of time cooking, make a big pot of stew or make a big pot of rice, something where you can just do it, it's done, and then you put it into little containers. Maybe some are in the refrigerator, some are in the freezer. And then as you go throughout the week, then you can retrieve that food.
Another set of great information. Question on the beans. In the Caribbean, we will soak the beans overnight, as you mentioned, but we will put a little baking soda.
Yes,
Do you put baking soda in and it becomes bigger, the
yes,
beans, but it's a good idea to really soak your beans the night before. And
definitely.
with that said, let's go into form of exercise now. Safe movement. If someone has balance weaknesses or movement issue, what are the safest and easier type of exercise they can do, like seated movement or walking in water to benefit their brain?
Yes, movement is so much part of medicine and is part of the lifestyle spokes, right? Because we really want to make sure that not only are we eating well, but we are moving. And
Mhm,
according to the US Department of Health and Human Services, they put their physical activity guidelines out for Americans, and the suggested guidelines are for adults to do at least 150 to 300 minutes of movement per week, right? And that can be things like brisk walking, gardening, dancing, and then for 75 minutes per week, very vigorous type of movement. Now, when we think about, people who have neurological disparities, there
mhm,
are a lot of things that we need to think about when we are approaching this population. One could be balance issues. There could be weaknesses in the bodies, vertigo, and just
mhm,
other kinds of complications that may arise. So what we want to make sure first is that we're have safety in mind. And so a lot of the exercises that I prescribe, and I'm actually a corrective exercise
mm,
specialist. So
mhm,
that means that I help people who have different ailments in their bodies and how to best you still use their bodies, but in a safe way. And a lot of times, what I do is I get a chair, and the chair is like
mhm,
a great tool to have because pretty much everyone has chairs in their house. So you can use a chair. You can do seated marches, which means you're sitting up tall. We always want to try to keep the spine long.
mhm,
And then you're just lifting up right leg, left leg, right leg, left leg. So there's not a lot of pressure in the body when you're doing it, but you're still moving your body. Shoulder rolls are really great as well. So yeah, doing just like a
mhm,
few
mhm,
shoulder rolls while we're sitting or going forward and going back. That helps a lot with, say, the neck, the tension in the neck, the shoulders, things like lifting your chest and opening up the chest and shoulders, and then bringing it in so that you're opening up the back muscles. So this back and forth movement is really great for your spine mobility. Going side to side as well is another great way of keeping your spine long and safe and still doing movement. Like you said about the water, water is really great if you get a chance and you have
mhm,
access to a place that has water, right? A pool. You can do lots of movements in water, and it's very low pressure on your
mhm,
joints. It does help improve balance, and any kind of falls, like it really reduces any type of falls that you can experience. The most important thing too is to go slow and just keep it steady, right? So if you are going to go for a walk, like a neighborhood walk,
mhm,
one, maybe ask somebody to go with you, right? Just to kind of have a walking buddy and have it as a nice slow walk. There's no need to go too fast because you're building up. But when you're doing this, you're going to boost your cognitive function, which is great.
mhm,
And
mhm,
like that's the most important thing. There's also yoga, right? Yoga helps with stabilizing the nervous system, if it reduces anxiety, and it just helps you to be more aware of your body. So I would say try to do any of those suggestions using the chair, if you have access to a pool, or just doing some sort of breath work or gentle yoga moves. And that should definitely help with any any of the things that we're talking about. Yeah.
Great information. I have a question. I'm not sure if you have the answer, but people who are vegan or plant-based eaters, are they less likely to get sick as opposed to people who do not eat healthy? Was there ever like a research done on this? I'm curious to know.
Yeah, so there are lots of studies out there
Mm,
that do show that there's been improvement, right? So let's just take, for example, there have been so many studies. There's one specific one with Dean Ornish, and he's a doctor, and he created this program. It was a lifestyle program, and what happened was it was for heart health, and so there was one group that was following the lifestyle choices of eating a more plant-based diet, movement, not smoking, and reducing stress. And then there was the other group who was just following, say, like maybe your traditional type of intervention. And
mhm,
so what they found with the group that was doing the lifestyle changes had like a significant improvement in their
mhm,
heart health, which was really, really amazing. And I don't have the exact numbers, but I feel like it was like around
mhm.
70 to 80% like
Wow.
improvement. So that right in itself is like, really huge. Here's the thing. I mean, you're gonna maybe experience illnesses and sicknesses, whether you are plant-based and vegan and whether you're not. It really depends on your environment. It depends on
Mhm.
your stress levels. So it's only one part of, the whole well-being, but nutrition is very important. It is very important, especially with
Definitely.
health. But I think that to answer your question, there are a lot of research data out there that it really supports that eating a more plant predominant diet, that you are going to have better health outcomes. And that's really amazing to have that information out there.
Thank you, Daniel. This was great. I learned a lot of new information, and I appreciate you for taking the time to share this information with humanity. Thank you very much, and I hope you continue on giving your workshop and educating yourself in the healthy living lifestyle. And thank you very much. And on behalf of Act of Random Kindness, good evening, everyone, and have a great evening. Thank you very much, Daniel.
Thank you
Bye.
so much, Joan. Bye.
Okay, bye bye.